Call the Grimes City Council meeting of February 10th, 2026 to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, and roll call, please.
Johansson.
Here.
Earlbeck. Here. DePhillips. Here. Lovelady.
Here.
Forkerty.
Here.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to approval of the agenda.
I'll move it. Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Forkerty.
Right.
Johansson.
Aye.
DePhillips. Aye. Earlbeck. Aye. Lovelady.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to public forum. Anybody signed up for public forum?
We have two tonight.
Okay.
First is Brian Hansen.
All right.
Well, I would tell you why I'm here, but I think you all know why I'm here. I don't really know why the city wants to put this building on one of the biggest green spaces we have. In looking at all the information and the pamphlets and stuff from the city, the Parks and Rec specifically, they claim that parks, green space, and recreational opportunities for residents is important. It is mandated for new developments, but yet ours is being taken away. On the other hand, a small group of people do not take this into consideration, and it seems to be somewhat hypocritical on somebody's part. Case in point, we got a nice write-up in the newsletter in our water bill this month, claiming all of this great things about this new administration building, how it's going to be in the Waterworks Park, and that 78% of the open space was going to be left for recreation. That's not true. We don't consider the splash pad to be any part of this park anymore. It has its own identity. The splash pad is for children. The green space is for all ages. I have to assume that you do not care about the recreational, places for adults or families. This park may be old and run down, but that's your fault, not ours. People still appreciate it because it's there and it serves a need. What's your backup plan? Where do these people go? You have the free shelter houses and stuff there. We see that used constantly during the summer. Where do they go? Where do they go now? This was their spot. This was hundreds, if not thousands of people use this every summer. But yet you're taking it away and there's plenty of other green spaces. They're not going to go to the soccer fields or the sports complex or the Grimesplex, that's just not doable. So, side point, and you said some of them would not find it difficult. We've come up with hundreds of people that find this very difficult. You take the splash pad out of the equation, the building and the parking will probably take over 80% of what's left of the green space there. That leaves very little recreational space. The park, as it is, gives free play space for all to enjoy as they see fit. If they want to play Frisbee, if they want to play kickball, if they want to do whatever, it's theirs. They can decide what they want. You have these little bitty parks around the community now that have playground equipment on it. That's for kids, and you're telling them, okay, now this is what you have to play on. It creates no creativity. They're not having pickup football games or soccer games or doing whatever. So I say that's wrong, but okay. You say we've had the opportunity to speak for the last couple of years. That's not true. I spent hours going over the thousands of pages in the agenda packets, not memorizing, but just glancing through them. And I've come up with a couple of things where the contract issued to OPN for the site development listed the location as a project in Grimes, Iowa. There's no address. There was nothing on our contract. How do they know where they're supposed to do a site analysis? there's no address on it. Even as late as this last December in 2025, the vendors, White's Company, they listed their site as to be determined. I'm sorry, this, you know darn well this was already determined a couple of years ago when you set this whole thing in motion. And then not until December 16th, after you published this, we voted on and approved it, we're going to have it here, was the location given as 100 Northwest James Street. It is obvious our input was not wanted. Case in point, just recently, a couple days ago, there's a meeting tomorrow night for the people on the south side to talk about their street. The street probably inconvenienced them for a while on maybe where they have to go or how they have to detour or something like that. We never got that. We didn't get that 2 years ago when you set this whole thing in motion. So why are you doing it now? You're doing it because we brought it to your attention that you guys are doing a really poor job of being transparent, you know? And so you're welcome. Excuse me, but our notification was vague. Y'all used the little green card. It went out to just a few people in our neighborhood. And then, but it was already decided. So it doesn't matter, you know. You guys didn't really bring us into the conversation. So I heard the argument that the old library was there, so we can tear it down and put up our new building there. The library was for all ages. It was for children. They had story times. They had different things like that for the whole families. This administration building does not offer anything like that. It has convenience and nice place to have these meetings. Wow, you know, that's really great. You also claim, we've heard over and over again, that we have the right, we've been elected, so we have the right to make the tough decisions, but yet you make the decisions on this particular case, you made the decision without even talking to anybody, without even letting anybody know what was going on. The optics are kind of sketchy. It gives the impression that there's some alternative motive behind this thing, why you would keep this thing so quiet. The vendors didn't even know where they are out loud, where they were going to be, you know, what they were supposed to be working on. You say this will benefit the city. Putting this big, beautiful building in a green space does not benefit the city. It just, it maybe strokes your ego a little bit, you know, something like that. But you have other, and you say the city already owns the property, so we don't have to buy anything. Well, you have lots of other places that you could build this thing. There's, and we've mentioned those in the past. So in the meantime, the park's going to go away. The green space is going to go away. The recreational activities are going to go away. But yet we have this building. Okay. You say we should have been paying closer attention. This information was transparent. And I've heard the term, well, what are we supposed to spoon feed you the information? Don't patronize us. At least show us the menu. In our defense, what city takes away a busy green space to put up an administration building in its place? Ours, I guess. I don't know. It's not right, but it's ours. It's amazing now how you use monthly newsletters to list your accomplishments, yet choose to keep them and other issues that transform this community, like taking a large park away. And that's kind of hidden in the shadows. We're not going to talk about that because this is what would have happened 2 years ago. People would have been in here telling you, don't do this, but you didn't want to hear it, so you kept it quiet. The way I see it, there's probably a couple groups of people in town. Some people say, yes, we need the building. Some people say, no, we don't want the building. But I'm assuming that of those what want the building, that there are probably three groups. Don't put it in the park. We don't care where you put it, or put it in the park. But I'm assuming that the first two sections, don't put it in the park, we don't care where to put a park in the park, or we don't care where you put it, overshadows the people that say, we want it in the park, you know. But yet they get the nod and we don't. Do the right thing, start listening to the people that this affects. Obviously you haven't yet. You may think you're the smartest people in the room, but you're the only ones there. You haven't let anybody else in. So you're taking away a green space that's been here for decades, and I hope history will judge you in not a positive light. Another thing, last council meeting, we talked about email, how the dialogue back and forth from email wasn't good with the council. They weren't responding to any questions or emails and stuff like that. I did. After that meeting, I sent out an email and listed all of you on there. Same email, just copied you all on the same one. Mr. Johansson responded. Nobody else did. I had a nice coffee with him. I didn't change his mind. He didn't change my mind. But because it kind of cries volumes when you have a spokesperson, one person that y'all get together and say, I'll handle this. Nobody else respond. I'll take it from there. So that's kind of the impression that I got, that I only got one response. And I asked the simple question of, defend your position on this. That's all. Defend your position. Tell me why this is a good idea, but didn't happen. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Who else has signed up?
Joe Herman.
Joe Herman.
Evening, Joe Herman, Northwest 8th Street. Again, my opposition about the location of the building. I've had conversations with people, and I've kind of got the same thing Brian got. There's the last 3 meetings the residents have come here, and there's been not one public statement from this city council about this park. I'm sorry about this administration. Nothing. Nobody's come out and said anything, with the exception of the news that just came out in Waterville. There's nothing. Nobody's addressed their concerns. I've talked to almost all the residents. He's right. He sent an email out. He got one response, Mr. Johansson. What are we hiding? Why is this? We built a library. We knew about that a year in advance. We had drones. We had platforms. We had everything. Grimesplex. We had everything. This isn't out there. That's what the residents want to know. What is going on? And he's absolutely right. Every contractor that signed a contract did not put an address. They put a TBD. So what's the perception there? And maybe it's just an oversight, but the perception. I too agree that the water park, the splash pad, is not considered green space. So I would love to see a drawing release from the city showing 75 to 80% space left. If it is, great. But again, you know what? Nobody's reached out to the residents saying, hey, we'll have 75 to 80% space left. Nobody's asked the residents about their input on how we're going to do this building. Let's save some of their backyard views. Let's do what we got to do. They're not getting that. So again, public drawing. I would also recommend that we cut those parking spots from 121 maybe down a lot. I understand that we want more parking for the splash pad. Anybody here that's got kids that goes to the splash pad, you know when it's packed. When there's no more parking over there, you know when it's packed. We open up more parking specifically for the splash pad, it's going to be overrun. It's a safety issue. The traffic's in there, and the kids are going to overrun it. Not a bad thing. They're enjoying the park, but again, consider some of that concrete to save some of the green space. Parking spots out here. We don't have anywhere near 40, 50 parking spots. And you guys do well here. You make do with what you got to do. But you want 121 parking spots over there. I don't think it makes sense. I feel that a lot of this, and I can't blame everybody. I understand there's new council members here. And I kind of think some council members wouldn't have had the same decision after they heard what the residents had to say. Okay. You guys are the final. I know the city council is the final word. But we pay, I believe it's OPM, and not, you're right, Jake, last week, okay? But we've paid this company with multiple contracts throughout Grimes millions of dollars, architectural, millions of dollars for what they've done. You would think we would take the voice of this architectural firm who does this for a living, professionally, and the voices of the full-time staff who did not recommend Waterworks Park. The city council chose it themselves. themselves. And if I'm wrong on that, I'll talk after, okay? I've been told that the city leadership actually had a great choice. The city council went off on their own and decided Waterworks Park. You keep saying centrally located. There's nothing civic about that area over there. Nothing. The library, downtown, that's civic. There's nothing civic over there. I would ask that you really reconsider what's going on. Take into consideration, open it up, give the city a drawing, show us what you got. So again, I want to thank the city workers and OPM for recommending the right choice. I can't imagine living there and having a beautiful park in your backyard and then having just a building with 121 parking spots behind you. I would love to see the drawings that show 75 to 80% space left. I don't think it's possible. From the drawing that I've seen, there has been a drawing that's been put out. I saw the rough drawing that was there. And that had about 150 feet by 150 feet green space left in the north. Everything else was all the way out. Concrete building. So I just ask that you do the right thing. Communicate. Speak to the public. Let the public know what's going on. I'll guarantee you 50% of this town still doesn't know there's a admin building going in the park. I just ask that you open it up. Reconsider. Would you have voted for it if you lived on one of those streets and that was your backyard? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Just some comments, there's ongoing discussions with staff. I hope that soon that we'll be able to maybe, bring to council, some ideas about, what to look at in the park and how we can maybe plug some space back in. But that's a work in progress. So I just don't have anything formal to present tonight, but hopefully we'll get there soon. These things take time. Nope. So
Bring the community in on that. Discussion, please.
that is part of the plan if we do it.
Good.
Yep. Some insinuations about the streets and stuff. The reaching out to residents when you do the streets, that's standard practice. You're talking about disrupting people's trash, mail, where they park, etc. And that's just been standard practice with that. So I take a little bit of issue with comments that we suddenly now switch gears or something. So for whatever that's worth. And the last thing is I just really would ask, I'm not saying people can't have feelings about this. People can have feelings about this, but I would really just ask people to stop making personal unfounded accusations about people getting enriched by something or this or that. Like, I just don't think that helps anybody in this scenario. And so I would just encourage people to stop that. And the only last thing I'll say is people did have communications back and forth. I can only speak for myself personally, Brian. The last email I received was very similar to the very first email I received, and I responded to that. I think other people did the same. At some point, maybe this is wrong, and if people want to criticize me for that, that's okay. It's fair, and I'll take it. But at some point, just where do we stop? Keep circling each other and saying the same thing back and forth. So I just want to point that out because, I feel like it was almost insinuated nobody cares and nobody talks to me, and people have responded. So, but I don't know if council, if anybody else wants to say or address anything, but that's just some comments I think might be relevant.
Well, and Joe, what David was talking about, I know we brought it up a little bit last night, and it's not fully baked yet. It's not something we can bring to the public, but I have had conversations with people that directly live there, and I know they've had conversations with their neighbors, and I've given ideas of what we can do in that space, whether it is add some space back, whether it is put some, equipment in. What does that equipment look like? What kind of landscaping are we going to do? Do you want the berms? Do you not want the berms? Those kind of things. And I've gotten some pretty positive feedback about that. So it's something that we will all have to agree on, but it seems like everybody in the community is open to hearing that. And of course, when we are ready to move forward, we'd love to bring in everybody affected by that.
Any other comments? Okay. All right, well, thank you. And that brings us out of public forum and into approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move it.
Okay, motion in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Wolferding,
Aye.
Earlbeck. Aye. Johansson,
Aye.
DePhillips. Aye. Lovelady.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. That brings us to proposed action items. First item, resolution 02-1626, approving amateur athletic union Hy-Vee multiplex rental agreement. And Brian Becker.
Mayor Gish, members of City Council, Brian Becker, Park and Recreation Director. What we have in front of you tonight is an agreement with a huge AAU youth football agreement. Would be held at the Hy-Vee multiplex. Brief overview. This is the national tournament. Will be held July 30th through August 1st, 2026. City revenue will be a little over $48,000. Some additional information. There'll be 2,400 athletes, 415 coaches, ages 6 through 18. Teams will be coming from 29 states and 24 countries. I also looked at the full schedule that came in here tonight, and right now it's sitting at 12 entry games. Staff is recommending approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
My only question would be, do you bring all of the contracts associated with the
Now,
sportsplex?
just the big ones.
Okay, all
Just
right,
the big ones.
okay.
This falls outside of our normal rental agreement,
sure.
and it's at $48,000.
No, that's impressive, and the representation too is also noteworthy, but just wanted to get some context for, thank you.
Yeah, and just to be clear, like part of the facility and is designed to land some of these tournaments and generate revenue, but that's not our sole goal or purpose here. And just to be clear, while we're taking on a tournament like this, we still have capacity and we're still doing stuff for our citizens and for our own youth.
Correct. This particular weekend is the dead week, so it's one of our slower weeks of the season. So we've got really good where the local tournaments are kind of down that weekend because people are traveling and family things. So it's almost a perfect scenario for this tournament.
Well, that's helpful. Thank you.
With the tournament, have we given any consideration to the additional resources for safety and ambulatory resources that might be needed for
We
it?
do that every tournament.
Okay.
We communicate our schedules with fire and police.
And they think that they can cover this along with everything else that they got going on?
We have an emergency plan.
Perfect.
And along those same lines, I know one of the reasons, people were in favor of the complex is there's an economic development aspect to it. And I know we've started communicating with some of the local restaurants, et cetera, because they've talked about how staffing up and being ready for these
I
events.
didn't put it in here as a bullet point, but we are working with the new hotel, making that the host hotel. So the tournament registration and
Nice.
I just say it's really exciting to see it. As you noted, Dead Week is generally somewhat dead around town because a lot of families at least try to get out. And their athletes try to get out of town for a little family getaway. So great fit on that front. The Hy-Vee multiplex is performing exactly as we anticipated it would. In fact, based on the performa that we kind of anticipated, it's doing better than what we had anticipated. And a lot of that credit certainly goes to your team, Brian, and the team that's trying to land these bigger events that draw people into the community. Of course, the reason we wanted an entertainment zone is that's what we have
heard that people wanted restaurants and they wanted things to do to be able to stay in Grimes. And so density is required for that. And this provides a weekend density instead of other options that you can take that provide density 24/7. So it's great to see the complex getting used, number one, and really performing as we anticipated, if not better than we anticipated. So appreciate you bringing this forward. Thanks.
Council, any other comments? Any action on this item?
We'll move resolution 02-1626.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Johansson.
Aye.
DePhillips. Aye. Earlbeck.
Aye.
Lovelady.
Aye.
Porkerdy.
And that motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to item 2, resolution 02-1726, making award of construction contract for the 142nd Street paving project, Meredith Drive to Waterford Road.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is an action item that we typically find on consent in normal cases. From our perspective, a transaction, approving a resolution to enter into a professional services agreement. But we did want to talk a little bit about this in the forum tonight, just because there's some community value and impact associated with the project. First, I think it's a good representation of us working with our neighbors. In this case, we're partnering with the city of Riverdale that is driving some of our costs down. Obviously, we're sharing in overall that cost, the cost of the administration, the design, everything. So overall, a good deal for the community as a whole. But also, generally speaking, the improvements, I think the community is going to find a lot of value in, specifically this area where the HMA asphalt will occur. So this is north of what would be like 37th Street, in between 37th and 19th. We do find ourselves with a number of open enrolled students from the city of Urbandale and city of West Des Moines, city of Clive to the south that traverse this road quite regularly. And if anyone's driven on this stretch of gravel, it is quite bad. We also generally are expending 10 to 15, sometimes $20,000 a year just maintaining that gravel condition. So we've heard a lot of feedback from it. The challenge has always been it's half Urbandale's road too, so we need to do this in a joint manner. And I think we have worked with them over the years, but in the recent times with some leadership changes on their side, we've really been able to foster a really good relationship, and that's allowed this project to advance. Some of the projects that we've talked about in the past too, the paving of 19th and Jazzwood, those are also joint projects with Urbandale. So this really just speaks to that kind of collaborative effort with our neighbors is resulting in good community value. Beyond that value, obviously, we're still getting really good bids in the market and the environment too. So you can see we have a overall project cost of engineer's estimate of $6.7 million. We're coming in at $5.5 million with a really. So, I did a little breakdown of the share. We have a smaller share in that reconstruction just because there's less corporate limits and a higher share on each. So, 20 we wanted to bring this to you because I think it just demonstrates some good value overall in the community and the budget and the capital improvement dollars. What they're getting for.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And sometimes with things like this, when you can get both your neighbors to agree, like you kind of have to jump on it because sometimes that can be rare. And so, but it sounds like you're able to do it, jump on it, and end up with some good numbers in the end. So, yeah.
Just one point of clarification. The city of Urbandale is the lead on this project, so we don't have to hold a public hearing. There isn't the kind of the typical award of contract bonds, all that type of stuff. It's just a simple concurrent resolution that you're accepting bids. Just one resolution.
And just for absolute clarity, they will hold all of those.
Yeah,
Yes.
they hold all the contracts.
So it's not that there aren't
They
any.
take care of the fine. We just essentially get an invoice.
Correct.
Great project. Appreciate you bringing it forward, and certainly appreciate working with our neighbors. There have been for a number of years, and as the city continues to expand west, connectivity issues on a few different gravel roads, all of which I think are now, for the most part, being paved over or asphalt overlaid.
It'll be 100% paved south of Highway.
Yeah.
Minus a little stretch that's in Dallas County.
Yeah, so that's big. first and foremost, because what we hear from people is they need more avenues to not have to take 141 at times. And so this provides another avenue that you don't have to jump on gravel. So appreciate the project, and the bidding environment continues to be advantageous for us. So.
Yeah, it's one that's driven on the gravel roads many times. I certainly appreciate it. And I think it's one we've heard as a council and community that they want to see those gravel roads paved. So great project moving forward.
No other questions or comments? I would move resolution 02-1726.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Johansson.
Aye.
Lovelady.
Aye.
DePhillips. Aye. Earlbeck.
Aye.
Porkerdy.
All right.
All right, that motion passes, or resolution passes. Motion, yeah, same thing. It's been a long day. That brings us to item 3, resolution 02-1826 to enter into contract for professional services with HR Green Inc. for Southeast 37th Street East Gap improvements.
This is another project that we just want to talk a little bit about the partnership. We're really kind of focusing on the systems approach with this. So what's in front of you is a resolution to approve a professional services agreement with HR Green. HR Green's an engineering firm. They will do design services and like right-of-way services for us to facilitate the widening of 37th Street in between what's known as North Park Drive and Urbandale, and then where the 141 and 37th Street improvement projects left off back in 2019. So simply what tonight is for is just approve that resolution. They'll do the design, the right-of-way services. The design cost is just shy of $500,000. It's a $7.6 million project, but again, this is a joint project, so we're working with Urbandale. We did jointly do an application for funding through the MPO a couple of years ago, so we were awarded dollars to help offset total cost. So that 7.6 will get reduced based on the STBG funding, which is a surface transportation block grant funding. So that speaks a little bit to the partnership, what we're doing. But we did want to talk a little bit about like the systems approach with this. So why we are doing this, why we do some of the other projects. So this is just a graph of, or a depiction of like the southern portion of the community. So 19th Street is at your very top, and then the I-35 right interchanges to the south. As you can see, over time, the city, either on its own or in partnership with its neighboring communities, has invested significant dollars in infrastructure. And it's all been part of this larger approach to address connectivity and access into the community, because largely Grimes is a veteran community. Most people leave, go to work outside of the community, and come back. They can stay in the community all day long. And there were bottlenecks with 141, with James, with 100th Street. In fact, the 100th Street interchange didn't exist a couple of years ago. So again, part of the systems approach, which really kind of kicked off early in 2017 when the city and Urbandale and Johnston did improvements at 100th Street, which is right here, and 37th or 54th. That then kicked off improvements to 141 and 37th, to James and 37th Street, which then trailed into the 100th Street interchange improvements, which happened in 2020. All while we were focusing on getting James Street done by a certain time period, as well as making improvements to the 100th Street interchange. Because we know as we take things like James offline, or we look at improvements to 141, that creates more bottlenecks. So focusing on the adjoining parallel network helps to take that pressure off and provide another relief point to the city. So it's all part of a system. But again, what tonight is the design for this area in red 2027 is the anticipated construction timeline, and then moving into the west leg of 37th Street the year following. So again, I thought it'd be helpful just to contextualize what are we doing tonight. It's simply starting the design for this portion, but it's really a bigger picture of the investment that the city has done, again, with the DOT, with City of Johnson, with City of Urbandale, across this kind of entire network on the southern portion.
Yeah.
Simple resolution, but happy to take any questions.
Yeah, and thank you, Alex. And this too could have been one of those, like, this is a pretty standard thing. We could have put it on consent because there's just not a lot to really debate on this. But I thought it was worthy of having on the agenda just to remind us of like, we are doing this infrastructure and we do have a plan and there is a goal and you know, a thing in mind here. So I appreciate the presentation. I really like that graphic. It's good. So, any other comments?
No, I echo those comments. I appreciate the update. That section, from a timing perspective, it certainly reached its useful life. We've gotten every penny out of that puppy. So I'm glad to see that, you know, it's finally come to fruition that we're making the improvements now. It was needed.
Any action on this?
If nothing further, I'll move resolution 02-1826.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Workerding.
Aye.
Earlbeck.
Aye.
Johansson.
Aye.
Lovelady.
Aye.
DePhillips. Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. It brings us to resolution 02-1926, approving final plot of Harvest Point Plot 1 and certain related easements and agreements. Evan.
So this is Harvest Point, Plat 1, located on the north side of Southwest 19th Street between James and County Line Road. It's R4. Zoning is part of the Harvest Point PUD across 38.5 acres. Just to give you a background on this project, we did the rezone back in January 2025, and then the preliminary plat across the whole property in April 2025. Now we are into final plat for the portion here in red for the first phase of the development, which will divide the property into 56 single-family lots. Outlot B will be the next phase of development with 4 single-family lots. There'll be a private detention outlot, which will be a shared basin between this development and Congress Line to the north. All necessary easements have been reserved for all the utilities as well as landscape buffering along 19th Street. The right of way along 19th Street was previously acquired, so no dedication is required with this plat. And then parkland for this development will be dedicated with future phase of development. Just as a reminder, this would be about 13 acres on the south side of the South Sports Complex. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Staff would recommend approval, and we do have representation if you have any questions.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you for calling out the parkland part, because I really liked how this and the development to the west both jointly kind of work together with us to then just add that on to South Prairie and just the South Sports Complex. And just, I think that'll really just add a lot more to that park. So excited for that when it comes. Council, any questions or comments?
Evan, could you refresh my memory for the right of way on Southwest 19th Street? What are we anticipating that road to ultimately be? Is that a 3-lane or 5-lane?
5-lane.
Okay. Thank you.
Any action on this?
I think, as was pointed out, we've talked about this a couple other times. Appreciate the developer bringing this project forward. Certainly needed, as we hear from residents. They want more housing stock, and you're bringing that. So hopefully the market demand is good. It's a good product. There's no other questions or comments. I would move resolution 02-1926 for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Johansson.
Aye.
DePhillips.
Aye.
Earlbeck.
Aye.
Lovelady.
Aye.
Workerding.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to item 5, resolution 02-2026, approving final plot of Brookside Village Plot 2 and certain related easements and agreements. Evan.
So this property is located on the south side of Northeast Beaver Brook Boulevard between Highway 141 and Northeast Destination Drive. Zone R4 as part of the Fagan property PUD. This one has gone through a number of steps as well. The red boundary was the rezone, which was done in June 2022. There have been a previous plat to show these lots and this development lot, and then as well as the site plan for all the apartments and townhomes. This area in green is what we're talking about tonight. The preliminary plat was approved September 2025, and now we're going into the final plat of the same area, which would divide the property into 3 commercial lots with all necessary easements reserved on the plat, including sanitary sewer and water main. There's no right-of-way dedication required with the plat, which it was previously dedicated for destination. The sanitary sewer will be the red area, will extend south to serve this development, but also potential for future development to the south if that should occur. And then there is a water main easement reserved on the south side for anticipated future city projects for water main to connect the east side of provide more. Would be private, which would be in the green area on the screen. And then they'll have some ingress and egress for shared access. I did accidentally put the old plat, so this portion of the ingress and egress would not be reserved on the plat. Since we don't have the site plan for that one, we'll get that later on just to confirm it's in the correct location. But there's no other public improvements for this plat other than the sanitary sewer. The destination improvements are already complete and accepted by the city. So happy to answer any questions you may have. We also have the representation for the project as well.
Thank you, Evan. Any comments or questions?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, one of the questions I get most often is when a new commercial building goes up, they ask me what's going in it. So I appreciate you bringing these forward because it means I'll get a few more questions, I think, coming up. But this is in direct alignment with our comprehensive plan and what we plan for the use of this area. And it's exciting to see a great developer come and turn it into a reality. So appreciate the project. Looks good.
Evan, I hope I'm not confusing my items, but I think that I read that we're waiving the requirement for a park for this project in lieu of funds to support another or like improvements to another park. Or am I getting my wires
One will
crossed?
be the next
The next
item, I
one?
think.
Well, then
but
I will
yeah,
wait for my question.
same development.
All right.
Yeah, and then just in terms of like, marching down the line. So this is the plot, and then as you kind of alluded to, site plans will come later about what the specific buildings are, but whatever they are, they're gonna have to conform to the layout of these plots.
And we do have
Right. Yep. But we have not seen one to the north or south. There's discussions in the south.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are no other questions or comments. I will move resolution 02-2026 for approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Johansson,
Aye.
Porkerdy,
Aye.
DePhillips. Aye. Earlbeck,
Aye.
Lovelady.
Okay, thank you. That'll bring us to item 6, third reading of ordinance 808 Sienna Hills rezone.
All right, so there have been no changes since first and second reading. So this is on the north side of 19th Street between Jazzwood and County Line Road to zone from R1 Ag to R4 PUD. It's low density on the future land use map, which is what they're proposing, with approximately 93 single family lots. right of way will be dedicated along 19th Street, and then also will be a landscape buffer along 19th Street. Detention will be private, and then there will be a trail connection to the future trail within the greenway. That greenway was previously purchased by the city as part of the WRA project. And no parkland dedication is required with the rezone due to the previous purchase agreement with the previous property owner, the Greenway County Parkland. And then just to go over some of the city projects that are happening this year next to this development. There'll be a water main from County Line Road and then brought up to directly to the development so they can connect on, and then asphalt overlay on Jazzwood and 19th Street. And then the lots are 65 or 60 foot wide minimum for their lots. Pretty standard requirements for the lots. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and staff would recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? I did notice the 2 trees per lot on the PUD there. That's a nice touch. I like that. And then again, further continuing the theme of some plantings and buffers out there. A lot of the developments out there are including that. And I know that's a well-received kind of shift over the last couple of years. And so I appreciate that too.
I have a question. So when you add the 2 trees per lot, is that dictated by the actual contractor or is that by the homeowner?
So it's a requirement for the development, and then once the home permit is submitted, we review their site plan, but make sure they have that shown on their site plan, the 2 trees.
Do we have a list of like what trees they put in so they don't just put something in the ground to check that box off for the?
We don't, or we haven't been requiring like any kind of specifics for the trees. I don't think it says like understory or overstory or anything like that. I think that would be up to the homeowner, kind of what they would prefer to have on their lot. We do have more specifics for like the buffer plantings to make sure there's a variety of overstory and understory and evergreen. But again, we don't have like specific species for those buffers.
And correct me if I'm wrong, though, I believe the tree board does have recommendations on species.
There are some requirement or like tree lists in our ordinance for trees in the right of way, just because trees dropping things into the street is not ideal. So there are some recommended species for those areas, but since these would be within their lot, we haven't had any specific requirements for the trees.
Any other questions or action?
No other questions? I'll go ahead and move 3rd reading of ordinance 808.
Okay, moving seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Borkerding.
Aye.
Earlbeck.
Aye.
Johansson.
Aye.
DePhillips.
Aye.
Lovelady.
And do you have a motion for final passage on that?
I'll move final passage of ordinance 808.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Roll call.
Borkerding.
Aye.
Earlbeck.
Aye.
Lovelady.
Aye.
Johansson.
Aye.
DePhillips. Aye.
All right, and that passes. Thank you. And that brings us to item 7, first reading of ordinance 809, Brookside Village North rezone.
All right, so this project is located at the southeast corner of Highway 141 and Northeast 18th Street. It's currently zoned C2 commercial. The proposal is to rezone 14 acres to R4 PUD. The previous comprehensive plan showed this area as mixed use, which allowed for a mix of uses. So this area is shown as commercial and medium density as well as mixed use. The mixed use would allow for some commercial and residential. This proposal is just for high density in the next area, which staff is supportive of that. It would be a less intense use for the project, and it would still be compatible with the neighboring medium density. So it'd be 8 acres of medium density on the east side of destination, and then 6 acres of high density along Highway 141. All detention would be private. Right-of-way dedication will occur for northeast destination through the property. Shared access will be provided for the commercial lot and the multifamily lot, just due to access limitations because of the roundabout, and then also proximity to 141, and also access not permitted off of 141. Trail will be provided on the east side of destination, which will connect to existing trails on the south side of destination, as well as on Northeast 18th Street, which would connect to North Point Park. Landscaping for the development for the townhomes. Buffering kind of depends on how they would actually lay out the site. So if the units have fronts out to the public street, landscape berm and buffer wouldn't be required, but they would have street plantings, which would be typical that you would see kind of on high density or commercial development lots. And then if they have like the side or rear facing out to the street, then we have berm and buffer against those. And then there may be some limitations to how berms may be placed on this property, just due to how the property drains. And then there's some utility restrictions kind of on the south side. So if we're not able to have a berm, we would increase the number of buffer plantings in those areas to just help fill it in a little bit more. For the parkland, so there's no parkland dedication required for this, or no parkland dedication shown on the future land use plan. So this development would propose to provide the fee in lieu of dedicating land, which would be utilized for North Point Park, just at the corner of 107th Street and 18th Street. So those funds would be utilized for improvements to that park. With this development and the Brookside Village development to the south, we would have approximately $250,000 to utilize for improvements to North Point Park. So we could make that a lot better for the neighborhood. The Parks and Recreation Board recommended approval of this arrangement. There's been a number of, street things happening around this development. So previously, there's a traffic study and improvements here for the roundabout area. That traffic study also included destination connection, and anticipated that 19th or 18th Street would close. The Destination Drive project will begin in the spring and complete later this year, and then that portion of 18th Street will also close upon the completion of that project. And then there is a little stub of right-of-way here that will be vacated. We're still working out the exact details for who will actually get that property, if it will go all to this development or be split. But it will still remain a private access that both townhome developments can use. For the medium density, the attached or detached townhome units for 8 units per acre, 900 square foot units with 2-car garages. Architecture would be 25% masonry, across the entire exterior of the building. We are allowing like more concentration of all the masonry and like details towards the fronts of the units, or if they're not oriented toward the street. And then if there's berm and buffers, then those kind of more covered up portions or elevations could be a little bit more simpler, so we can kind of create that interest on the front of the building. The setbacks would be 30 feet from the exterior property lines. And then we have some internal setbacks from the private streets for the driveways, 20 feet, and then 10 on any kind of side of the home and the private street. And then be 2 stories for the height. And then landscaping would be 1 tree per 1,000 square feet of open space. 1 tree per 50 foot of linear feet for when we have the street frontage trees, and then if there's a buffer, it'd be a 3 foot for plantings on top. For the high density, be multifamily dwellings at 20 units per acre, minimum of 450 square foot units. 25% of the units are required to have garages. The architecture would principally follow the 141 Zone 1 requirements. And then for balconies, we did have just added something about exposed wood. We had previously said that we wouldn't allow that, but we worked out that if the material is a durable material and its design is cohesive with the rest of the building, then some exposed wood for like the balcony or the material would be acceptable. The garages would be designed to match the buildings, the principal buildings. The maximum height would be 4 stories, and then the landscaping would follow Highway 141 with 2 trees per 1,000 square feet. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Staff would recommend approval, and we also have the developer here as well for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Evan. A lot to take in there, but a lot happening in that space. And just to be clear, this is a rezone, and so, you know, like where exactly those buildings are, what they look like, might not be like they were demonstrated today, but whatever they are, they got to conform to how we're setting these zoning numbers here.
Yep.
Yes. Council, any questions or comments?
As far as the 141 overlay district, is this all in zone
Zone-
1?
Yep, zone 1.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, so everything.
And everything conforms to zone 1 there. I guess it was in your red box, clearly.
Yeah, and we would, it would be mostly just for the high density.
Yeah.
I'll insert my park question here. I know you mentioned the cross street, but I'm just curious how far in proximity, like block wise, is the park that we would be essentially referring people to that would receive the upgrades and
Sure.
improvements?
Yeah, so it's at the corner of 18th and 107th. This is the development here. The trail would go in this dashed line and across 18th Street, so they would have the access directly there for pedestrian. As far as block length, I would probably say 3 or
3 to 4.
because you've got the townhomes, the Silkwood development, and then it's the park.
And then is that park with the improvements in mind going to be set up to be able to accommodate? That's a lot of housing units that are being pushed that direction. Will we be able to accommodate realistically that number?
So I think we would anticipate making improvements that would better serve the residents. As far as like the size, it might be a little bit small. I think for this area with all of the commercial along be kind of south. There wouldn't be any like parkland generated there. We've already got like the single family was already developed previously. With these new developments, like our position or the park board's position is not to have these tiny pocket parks. So they've would rather have the money to go towards improvements to making, like for this park in particular, make it better instead of having just another small acre park in here that doesn't do a whole lot for that development. These apartments can have some of their own private recreation too, potentially to help, but with just the like Autumn Park, for example, is a pretty small park, which is great for the neighborhood, but the goal would be to have larger parks that can serve more people. In this case, the money would be more utilized.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think having a park kind of with, if you put one in there or tried to squeeze one, the proximity to 141 and the traffic, because I imagine a lot of people are going down the Beaver Brook. You might get more people that'll wrap around onto this now. And so squeezing a park in there has a lot of challenges to it. And so I like the idea of investing in North Point Park. There's a lot of grass there that I think we have opportunity with. You said maybe it's kind of small, but I've been there a couple of times with my kids when they were younger, and there's a lot of space there, I feel like.
Yeah, there is. I think too, with this one just being more, we're infilling development on this side of town with like our new kind of, we're kind of in the wider open spaces out west. We've had a lot more thought into where our future parks are going to be and sizing them for all the anticipated land use. So our future land use plan does take into account all the densities of the land use, how much park is needed, because we do have required calculations for how many people are generated from a development and how many acres. So definitely with our more kind of greenfield development, we've been able to make sure we're placing those parks and sizing them properly, and then making sure that like with like Prairie Heights and Fox Glen, which we approved, I think last month or two, they have parkland fee in lieu, but that's because the park is not located on their development. There will be that park that will serve all of the residents that would be in that area of the proper size to be based off our calculations.
Evan, could you remind me what we originally, was this originally zoned commercial on the high density side?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll make comment on that. So I appreciate the medium density. I think that's a product that's certainly needed in the community. I was a little skeptical on the high density here because I would much prefer a commercial use. That said, there's market realities that come into play that we have to listen to at times. And I was one who said no further down south, putting some residential along 141 there. In this case, it makes a bit more sense. We've got medium density, obviously, just to the east of this proposed development. It gets a bit challenging because of the access. Not impossible, probably, but challenging. I will concede that point, to do too much more commercial up north. And so having the commercial lot on the corner there continues to make sense. Then we start to look at buffers. So if not commercial, then what? North of that commercial lot. And you start to go through your uses, and then there's not a whole heck of a lot of uses left that would actually fit that location other than high density. High density is certainly a product that every community needs. I will say, I feel like we're getting to the point, my humble estimation, that we got a lot. We got a lot of high density. So I wish you nothing but success on this one. Don't know that I will continue to push for a lot of rezones in the future. Hopefully we will stick to our land use. In this case, I'm willing to go out on a limb here for the developer because again, I did say no further on down to the south where I do think it makes sense because the connectivity with Highway 44 and First Street down to the south through destination, that will be a good commercial use for you guys. But this one made a solid point. So I'm going to go ahead and vote in favor, but
And this one would kind of mirror what we have across the highway as well with the heritage, with the commercial on the corner of Beaver Brook and the high density to the north.
especially with it closing the road up north, really
Yeah.
limits what you can do from a commercial aspect. We know that across the street, which is Johnston, to the north of the very northern edge of this, that's not going to be a commercial use that I'm aware of. So it makes sense, but
Yeah,
still
Councilmember-
doesn't give me warm fuzzies, but it makes sense. So.
No, thank you, Councilmember Johansson. I appreciate those comments and kind of the fairness you sort of laid out there, so. Any other comments or questions?
Quick question on the high density on the patio. You said it could be some sort of durable wood. Do we have like a list of materials or is it more?
I think there's still some maybe work on that, but yeah, there's some other like laminated materials that can be considered.
And that's mostly driven just because you're in zone one. If this was somewhere else, you might, like that may or may not be desired or pushed forward. Is that?
I think it's mostly just we've had some projects that have had wood and then it just kind of gets deteriorated. So I think just with this one being a super high visible project on the highway, we just wanted to make sure we don't have any maybe issues like that.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's fair.
So are we opening it up to different materials, but eliminating wood as an option altogether?
No, I think we're just wanting to make sure that if wood is used, it's incorporated within the design, so it's cohesive, and then it's a product that would just be more of a longer lasting product that would have less maintenance.
And so just to add to Jared's point, the next step on this, if we go through all of the readings and the rezone, the developer will come back with elevations. And then we'll have to approve those elevations with material samples, correct?
When you do the site plan.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's
First
still,
step.
There's ample time to approve what they're gonna be putting in place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna work it out. Then we get to see if we agree with their resolution.
I have faith. No, that's good questions, good comments. Any action on this?
Nothing further. I'll move first reading of ordinance 809.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Borkerding,
All right.
Skip Phillips.
Aye.
Lovelady,
Aye.
Johansson,
Aye.
Earlbeck.
Okay, thank you. That motion passes. And that brings us to staff reports.
Mayor, I have no report.
And then that brings us to mayor and city council reports.
I would just report, I attended my first Central Iowa Waterworks Committee meeting. Was not a lot on the agenda, but they take the water for our metropolitan area very serious. I look forward to working with all of the professionals on the board. And we are a producer. And I would add that they are going to be doing a tour of our plant. The board will be coming to Grimes to tour our water production facility. So that's coming up here at the end of February.
Thank you. Eric.
And lastly, there's Piece of Heaven cookies in the back. As always, trying to highlight some local businesses that we have around here. So please grab one on your way out if you'd like.
All right, I like your style, Jared. I attended my first Metro Advisory Council meeting. Mr. Johansson previously been serving on that, so thank you for your time on that. It was a good session. It was down in the Capitol and talking about tax implications and how that can impact cities. Not sure how much leverage we have, but we had the conversations, and I'm glad we did. And we'll see what the state comes out with on with all this in the end. But whatever it is, we'll weather the storm and figure it out. So, any other reports? Okay, seeing none, do you have a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.